Bowling is called The Actor's Life, which is an illuminating account of Charlton Heston's career and a commentary on some 20 years of movie making. Chuck opens this Friday here at the Amundsen Theater in one of the great plays, A Man for All Seasons. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Charlton Heston?
Now, I want to make one thing clear.
You're ready for a game anytime, aren't you?
No, you know perfectly well I do not come on the Johnny Carson show in a jogging suit. I just came from a matinee, and as soon as I finish, I'm going to eat my sandwich and go back to the theater and do the evening preview.
That's right.
And this is the kind of thing you wear.
That's right.
Between shows.
You are now in the preview rehearsals. And
but I'm not putting down the Johnny. I wear a tie.
I know that.
Okay.
Just
so we got that all squared away.
Just thought you were ready for a game. Knowing how much you love tennis, I figured you're just ready anytime.
Yeah. That too.
Hey, I'm glad to see you. I have not seen you since the night, as you know, a few weeks ago. I emceed a dinner for the March of Dimes for your good friend, Greg Peck, and George Burns was on the dais. It was the Jack Benny Memorial Award. And you were supposed to be there, but you had a rather harrowing day. Not only were you involved in the play, rehearsals, but that was the day, if you remember it in the news, that a rather disturbed lady had hijacked a plane and in New York and had demanded to see a couple of people in the motion picture industry. Your name was one of them. I think Jack Lemmon was another.
Jack Lemmon was the other.
It was something to the effect that there had been a note left at a TWA terminal.
That was the proposed scenario.
And you were supposed to go there and read this to the nation or something. Now, what's the story?
Well, I didn't mind that so much, but as we were, the FBI fellas came and picked me up at the rehearsal down at the Amundsen. And as we were racing out to LAX, why, they handed me a bulletproof vest. And that made me a little nervous. But I must say...
Because they didn't know that there'd be some...
Yeah, they said, we have to point out to you that you, in fact, may be the target. Now, of course, I really did nothing but sit there for 6 hours while the FBI negotiators talked to the lady on the airplane on the ground at Kennedy.
But at the same time, you put yourself in a certain amount of jeopardy, let's be honest.
It was nothing. I really made no contribution, Johnny, honest to Pete. But it did give me an opportunity that I think was valuable to me.
I would have sent a guest host if they'd have called me.
Yeah.
I would have Not that I'm chicken, but I think I would have called David Brenner, John Davis, and say, hey, guys, how would you like to go out to LAX in a bulletproof? Now, don't tell me you weren't a little bit concerned now. You got to be on those things.
Well, a little bit, but those fellas are very...
They know their business, don't they?
They know what they're doing. And at a time when the FBI has come under a lot of criticism from people with varying degrees of qualification to criticize,
right,
it was interesting to sit there for 6 hours and watch the dedication, intelligence,
right,
moderation, and responsibility with which they ran the whole thing. And from my situation involved in it, and as a taxpayer, I was impressed.
The end of that thing was that they never... Once in a while, it's not bad to... The end result of that entire thing, the note was never found, as I understand, at all, or anything to read.
The lady's story that there were accomplices at LAX waiting with a note and with undisclosed instructions for me to read a message to the world were an invention. But, of course, they had to take it, as was her statement that she had nitroglycerin in her purse.
You have to assume
the worst case.
Yeah, those are very... testy situations.
It's very fortunate that it worked out. I think another member of our profession deserves some credit, too. Theo Bickel, fine actor, was on the plane.
Right.
And he was right in the middle of it. And he entertained the passengers by playing his guitar to keep them...
Because they sat on the ground for quite a number of hours.
6 hours.
Without really informing them of what was going on. I think they told them so as not to disturb them.
Theo paid his dues.
And he got up and entertained? That's great. I didn't know that.
Of course, I talked to him on the phone. He said, what are you going to do? He said, if I'd been a doctor, I would have gone around taking everybody's blood pressures. And you do what you're supposed to do.
Get up and entertain.
Sure.
I thank you for coming tonight because I know you're in rehearsals for a very tough play.
Well, it's tough, Johnny, but it's such a rich piece to work on. Man for All Seasons there's been no, it was written in 1959. There's
Robert
been
Gould,
no
right.
play written since, I swear, that comes close to it. It is a more meaningful play now than it was when it was done, when Paul Scofield created the part,
Right.
went on to do it brilliantly on film, but
It's a test for an actor, too,
it's a
isn't it?
test for an actor, but it's a feast for an actor in an audience.
Yeah.
I did a matinee. I'm not tired.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the evening. I'm looking forward to the run. It's a rich, rich piece. I've got
When it goes well and you got the material, isn't it funny how all of a sudden it's not tiring? But
You bet.
But if you're in something that is not working, how quickly you can...
Because then you got to do all the work.
That's right. Let me interrupt a second. We'll come back and talk about a few other things. Stay where you are. We're back. We're talking with Chuck Heston. You know, you're one of the actors, among others that I know, that set aside a certain time out of motion pictures to play the boards, as they say, go on the theater, because it's a stimulation. It gives you a chance to expand a little bit and
Different kind of problem.
Yeah.
Different kind of responsibility.
and work at that craft of acting.
You bet.
And very often, a lot of people who are predominantly motion picture people are a little reluctant to do that because it kind of, they feel that it opens them to the critics. And so critics have been, as you know, over history, have been almost super critical of, quote, movie people who work legitimate stage, even though that you have done this before. Does that bother you at all, laying yourself open to the critics to say, okay, here's Chuck Heston?
A couple of actors have asked me that, but all you're risking is your vanity, Johnny.
Right.
And maybe that's a healthy thing to do every so often. I mean, what's going to happen? If a critic doesn't like what I do, is that going to mean I'm not going to get a job or something?
Yeah.
No, of course
And that
not.
doesn't mean that the audience or other people don't like it. That's
No.
only one man's...
I remember the marvelous thing Laurence Olivier said to me once. I did a play with him some years ago, and it was a flop, and we're commiserating with one another when the notices come in, and I said, well, I guess you have to learn to dismiss the bad notices. And he said, Chuck, he said, that's easy. He said, what you have to do, he says, much more important is to learn to dismiss the good ones.
There's a lot in that. You always want to read... Yeah. Everybody's very quick to believe the flattering things about you. You know, say, boy, that man is really right.
Forget
If somebody
those
says it was
two.
bad, they say, hey, he's crazy. What's the nicest thing somebody's ever said about you as a critic?
Well, I think the nicest review I ever had as an actor was not from a professional critic, but my second picture was a picture about the circus for Cecil B. DeMille.
The greatest show on earth?
Greatest show on earth.
Sure.
Won
Jimmy
the
Stewart
Academy
was in it?
Award. Jimmy Stewart, Dorothy Lamour, Betty Hutton, Cornell Wilde. They were all very good, and the circus was marvelous, and you know. And Mr. DeMille showed me a letter after the picture, after the Academy Awards and all. And some woman had written to him and said how much she'd liked the picture and how good Betty Hutton and Jimmy were and everything. And she said, and you know, because I played the circus manager in the picture, and she said, you know, that circus manager fitted in very well with the real actors, too. You can't beat that.
No.
That's the best notice I've ever had.
That's sensational, isn't it?
That's sensational. Yeah.
That is sensational. Look, I know you have to go back. You have another preview performance tonight, and then officially you open for 7 weeks?
7 weeks.
7 weeks at the Amundsen Theater. I suppose you'll do, what, 7 shows a week?
8.
2 on Wednesday?
2 on Wednesday, 2 on Saturday, and Sundays off.
That's a full schedule.
But it's going to be a rich time. I hope a lot of people. I hope you'll be able to.
I
come
will
down.
be delighted to come down.
Okay.
I promise you I will be there. Thanks, Chuck, for coming. Thank you. Well, he's one hell of a nice guy. He really is. We'll be right back after this.